Welcome to Dear Grandchildren, a Tracker's Tale. I'm Michael Douglas, your guide on this journey into the heart of nature and the wisdom that it holds. Here, we blend the ancient skills of survival, tracking, and foraging with modern insights to help you reconnect to the wild within. In each episode, we'll explore timeless practices, share life-changing stories, and discover how the natural world can bring you mindfulness, resilience, and purpose. But this podcast is more than just a show. It's a community. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcast, where you'll find exclusive content, question and answer sessions, bonus tales. For those seeking a deeper connection, explore our workshops and experiences, or even bring me to your community for an unforgettable adventure. Now, let's step off the trail and into a possible nature experience that could change how you see the world. Let's begin. So before it was cool, back in 1970 something, I was brought to the office, and I've always gone to the office. I got bored of school, I'd walk home. You know, they were making a life-size map of the town, and I would just make foil ducks and geese for the lake. Get in trouble for that. It was just a game. The school thing was a game. Like, I was in a cage, and when I got bored, I'd leave. I would do stupid things. I mean, most kids did stupid things until they learned the rules. Well, I learned the rules, but I wasn't interested in them because they weren't fun. And I didn't understand. I didn't get the brief. Other people got the brief on, oh, if you sit down and you're really smiling, your handwriting's neat, they'll like you more. It never occurred to me. And they did like me. That's the thing. So I was liked for my wildness. Thank goodness, huh? I mean, another community might have put me in some program. But I guess I was put in a program. I had to go to a psychologist. I'm in 4th grade, and I'm trying to track this. I'm going to a doctor because, you go to a doctor when you're sick. And then I had to take tests for my brain, which means my brain was sick. Back then, the term was retarded. I must be retarded. I don't want to be retarded. How do I unretard myself? So I would go to the library and get books. And I would get books on quizzes, Mensa books that I didn't understand. And I'd have to look at the cheat at the back of the book to get the answer after trying for 2 days. But I knew if I tried really hard and I didn't understand it and I got the answer, maybe I could connect the 2 different ends of the puzzle. And I just kept trying that. And then I got books on Lord Greystoke, Tarzan, by Edgar Rice Burroughs. And I read White Fang by Jack London, and then tried to tackle Walden 2 and Walden. And the Sherlock Holmes series really engaged me. I ate that up voraciously, but I still had to take medicine. Ritalin. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I struggled hard to earn my way out of it, but I guess I never did. And you know what? I'm proud I didn't. I am glad. I am so thankful that my wild heart has been left fully operational, in spite of the institution. But there's valuable things in that space, albeit at a cost. Burnout. Teachers burn out within 5 to 7 years. They get frazzled and they hide behind their desk in the corner of the room while the class faces the board, with their fortress of a small refrigerator and a stack of books and a little extendo tray going out to prevent people from going behind their fortress of solitude. And then, and only when they're ready, do they come out, present the facts that need to be recorded and regurgitated on that Friday. Rinse, lather, repeat. But they didn't start out that way. They started out as wide-eyed, compassionate, ready to engage youthful 20-somethings. The same people we feed to the war machine gets put into the grinder. How do you expect a healthy adult to survive 40-minute units with 30 faces staring blankly before the bell rings until you get another dose. 6 times a day, 185 days out of the year, and produce in-depth, intrinsically rewarding experiences from which these young beings can grow into. Oh, you can do it to an extent, but you need a community. You need to invite in the parents and the folks who have a stake in their own children's well-being. Well, in many cases, you can't do that anymore. There's background checks and metal detectors, and we've designed prisons, and then we're surprised when the environment of a prison produces what it produces. Disinterested, disengaged, no empathy, lots of apathy. Well, you can overcome that script because you have an ancestral programming that's deeper than that. But you have to understand that there's going to be dis-ease when you're working in this one world that combines these almost discordant, disjointed, unrelated, and often confrontational paradigms. One paradigm is stay in a sustained flight or fight response, work harder. You can work smarter too, but you have to work harder and smarter now. And you will get the fruit you deserve. Those with the most toys win. And don't be late, you'll miss the bus, the meeting, the retirement package. And by the end of it, that hamster wheel becomes an acceptable, unshakable fact of your life. It is reality. It is the real world. You've created the real world in a hamster cage. Congratulations. It didn't take long, but you've had help. We've all had the help of it. Some of us got drugged into submission, sorta. But you got that spark still, or else you wouldn't be listening to podcasts like these. You wouldn't be going out in the woods or trying to find a way to do so. You wouldn't be questioning the parameters that were set forth for you. And that's good. That little spark of life that grows into a roaring lion of independence, which then tempers itself to become a supportive agent for health and healing and empowerment of self. We don't tell others, much like we don't tell a flower what color it's going to bloom, what to be. We provide enough space, sunlight, nature, alone time, and also time to share in story that you can feel confident in patterning your growth. But that dis-ease, it just comes up over and over again, doesn't it? Well, our ancestors had technologies for that too. From the eastern part of the world, we have entire disciplines of herbalism and energy work dedicated to addressing balance or maintaining balance. If there's imbalance, you address it, what the opposite is. And if it's hot, you do colds. If you have colds, then you address it with hots. Push and pull, tui and la, yin and yang. Balance, which is also a symbol for flow. That's the other one. So you maintain balance, promote flow, and increase flow or decrease it as necessary. If you have the runs, you don't want to have the Hershey squirts to the point where you dehydrate or have hypovolemia and die. So we'll eat some cheese, right? We'll eat some roughage. But sometimes you need a Zamboni to go through there. You need psyllium or plantain seeds to let things flow. Well, emotionally, same thing. When was the last time you gave yourself space for a good cry? But holding it in, you think that's helping you and everybody else? That quick temper, that disdained, detached look when you see people who are minor infractions of getting their grocery cart in your way? That's being a shit spreader. And if you're aware that you're a shit spreader, the good part of you wants to fix that, to change course, to vent amongst friends who have vented to you as a management tool. It's funny, gentlemen, when those ladies get up and walk out together to go to the bathroom, they have a technology that we could use. kvetching, venting, sharing stories of excitement, but also being harshly critical of each other in times of need if you're friends. We don't do that. We just brave it, don't we? That's how we break everything, and that's why our insurance rates are so high. Imagine being a surgeon with your power. Like a special operator versus, well, I was an O3. I was in the Marine Corps as a blunt force instrument. Now, I'm also quite proud of that. I've held space with folks who are no longer with us, who share in that with me, and I am honored to have and still continue to consider myself as a member of a band of brothers in that experience. So hard times come. Blockage, imbalance, and lack are the primary colors of the grief that you'll run into when you are reconciling your modern world with your primal self. It's a given. It's the work of it. Enjoy it. Turn it into an artistic endeavor, a piece of craftsmanship of your own internal doing. Yeah, jujitsu that shit. Now, we can refine that. And there's technologies that were shared with us intentionally to be used to make us good neighbors, from Jake and Judy Swamp of the Wolf Clan of the Mohawk Nation. It comes from a story that they shared that is a 9-day long story that I don't have. And the part that I have, I hold like a precious sacred gem, wrapped in velvety red cloth, tied in a bundle of prayer. In my heart, I carry this story with reverence, and I don't take it lightly. And basically, it's the story of how death came to humanity and the symptoms that started to radiate out from that experience of first death. According to the story, we were tasked with 2 jobs: to maintain the balance and flow of the garden that is this planet that we live on, and to be thankful. And because we were the stewards or the caretakers and had to be aware of multi-generational forest succession and the crash and rise of certain populations over time and their needs, all of these things and their needs, we lived forever. We had to accumulate generational knowledge. And things were going great. But according to the story, as it unfolds, the people, when you live forever, you could be thankful tomorrow. And so that initial ripple of imbalance, that lack of thankfulness, that story of lack of thankfulness and its ramifications is present in every culture. The white buffalo calf story has an element of what happens when you're no longer thankful for the gift of life, right? Mbuku the hare tells story of being lax in thankfulness and the ramifications it brings in East Africa. Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd, the thankless hunter, bumbling. So you have these threads of lack of thankfulness, and then the dis-ease that comes up. So death happens to the people in this story, and one of the people falls. And the people near this one, they don't know what to do. They've seen death as hunters. They take animals that are reaching a population height that is going to be detrimental. To get through winter, they don't kill the ones that are struggling to recover from the explosion of coyotes or the bobcat that came through or the wildfire or the cold snap that killed the young. No, they go after the ones that are flourishing, and they don't go after the healthy ones, but the ones that probably aren't going to make it through winter. We cull them out in a manner that encourages health and vigor in each population. Except now we're not so thankful about poison ivy. I mean, come on. And mosquitoes. They're hard to be thankful for. Ticks, Lyme disease, Japanese knotweed. It's an alien invasion. No, it's not. What happened is we lost thankfulness, so we lost connection. And in losing connection, we lost sense of purpose and belonging for each of those individuals. Those entities are powerful teachers. powerful healers. Japanese knotweed, the resveratrol content and phytochemical spectrum of antivirals, antibacterials, antimicrobials. It's our primary plant for our Lyme disease protocols. And this is all direct experience talking, not research, but it's researched backed. The power of Japanese knotweed being used for Lyme disease and spirochete bacteria that are Lyme-like in their nature. In other words, they're corkscrew-shaped. They protect themselves with a cyst coating. They like synovial fluids rather than the bloodstream, which is why you have to have antibiotics as quickly as you can identify the cause. Because once you put antibiotics into an infected body that has spirochetes in the spinal cord, in the synovial fluids in the wrists, the vitriol fluid in your eye, those antibiotics, those modern ones, well, they're not effective. Oh, but here's the catch. Unless you have Japanese knotweed. And then it takes those modern antibiotics through the blood tissue barriers into those spaces. This is all well documented. Dr. Buhner's Healing Lyme Naturally has case study after case study done in Europe and in the States showing the efficacy of this invasive species. Dude, the only thing that is invasive is the lack of thankfulness leading to neglect of our landscape. That's why the acorns shut down. The acorns shut down because we stopped eating them. And in stopping that, the rodent populations exploded to this amazing level. And then a little grub, a little larva, also overpopulated and started to infect the acorns, which causes the plant to shut down as a defense mechanism against infestation. They don't shut down like that in South Korea, where acorns are still being produced and commercially sold, or in Portugal. When you have humans interacting with the trees, they produce at a more regular rate, which helps to prevent population surges and crashes in all manner of wildlife that feed on those acorns, from the rodents to the turkeys to the bear to the deer. And if you have higher yields more consistently, you have a healthier population of all of those things, the indicator species to the apex species more consistently. It's a biomass generator that has been left to putter along as best as it can without us. Neglect is directly related to lack of appreciation and thankfulness. And if you start to neglect yourself, you're neglecting your landscape. Look at people's houses who are cast into depression or self-neglect. They become cluttered. I know. I am the owner of one such house. And that clutter is a symptom of your internal goings-on. So let's dismantle distraction, doubt, blockage, imbalance, and lack with a systematic or diagnostic tool given to us in the rest of this story. And so death happened, and the person that was dealing with their best friend who suddenly fell to the ground gets confused and feels this tsunami wave of disorienting feeling. It's a powerful force of uncertainty, regret, loss of words, confusion, hurt. And there's, what do I do with my friend here? It's about that time the buzzards turkey vultures are circling, and I panic. I want to protect his body from the scavengers. The coyotes will be coming soon. I can't have that. This is my friend. And so I gently cover him in rocks, making the first burial mound. I stumbled to the village, and I'm not the same me. Those kids who saw me as cool Uncle Mike, who are going to run up to me and tell me their tales and listen to my adventures, I have a face of, no, I can't, stay away. You don't want this. And that fearful face in my arms outstretched with stop sign hands telling them to back off is not the welcoming thing they were expecting, and it hurts them. And they feel it, and they stop in their tracks, and they feel the hurt so bad they have to go tell their mom and dad, and their tears in their eyes invoke the grizzly bear mama defense mechanisms. As I stumble trying to get to my shelter, the elders look and they say to each other, because they've seen some things, right? Well, Fred, you see that over there? What are you talking about, Ethel? Oh, that's a new one. Yeah, that looks highly contagious. Martha, you got a tincture for something like that? I ain't seen nothing like that in my life. Well, we should be mindful to observe and record the symptoms of this new dis-ease. And so the symptoms of grief came to the people in a 9-day story that I can't tell. But I can give the gist of it in my modern permutation of it to capture the spirit of it in the most respectful way I can, to honor the individual culture that is working a hard job to be good neighbors and protectors of a sacred fire of the 7 nations, original 5 nations of the people of the Longhouse, because they want us to be good neighbors. And I do this in a manner that is hard for me because it is so important and special of this gift that I don't want to slight it. I don't want to put shade on it. And so I don't tell it directly, but I tell it from my heart in a manner that isn't taking too much of the detail that makes it unique to the people of the Longhouse. So I can be a good neighbor out of respect. And the dance of it is disorienting and often uncertain, like this grief that comes. But these are the 11 symptoms that I hear. And the first one is that you're living in the past. Your mind is attached to that burial mound where your friend is underneath it. And so you can't be fully in the present and in the moment. You're dreading the unchangeable past or fretting the mythical future at the expense of your being in the moment and now. That is the first one. The second one. Oh, so what's the opposite of that? Because we want to get out of that, right? Stop and make room for yourself each morning. Create a ceremony over coffee where you're taking one full, complete, and present breath with no thoughts. Nothing gets pushed in, nothing distracts. Maybe you can't do it in the house because of kids or dogs or cats or whatever. Go into your car and do it before you start it up. One full breath, wide angle vision, senses open beyond the confines and warmth of the heated car. Don't turn on your radio. Be present with self and bring up those emotions that nourish and nurture you. Engage you in your day. You walk out of that house as a valued family member. And you're committed to crafting something amazing for the rest of the world, in that they will help you to feed those family members. If that's all you have, you go with that. One full breath for self, being fully present, and then bring up those emotions that are nourishing and nurturing and productive. And then start your day. There you go. Nice private little ceremony. To off-center, my mind is attached to the mound. We're reaching a place where I have to decide whether or not to share them fully with you in this podcast and go over, or to wait and give them the due respect they need and have it done in the next one. So I'm going to defer to the respect and caution of an artisan, a craftsman, and somebody who carries something important enough to take care of it as best as they can. So the next episode will explore these symptoms of the grief that we carry and the opposite of that energetic, so that we can use what comes up in our hearts as a diagnostic tool towards growth and something healthier, because it's bringing us these messages and we might as well cash them in. We don't have to look for this grief, but when it does come, it comes in these incredibly powerful packages of information that will allow us to choose to be a stronger person for it, or tells us that we need the space to either cry it out or work it out or process it, but always towards that better self, that more resilient, more empathetic, more aware individual who can serve others through our gifts with more effectiveness, compassion, love, quiet, and discernment. Whatever it is that we need on our path, this information comes to us because we need to hear it. All right. Until then, I hope you're excited about this new start. We're going to forge in the furnace of the things we don't like us as a tool toward bettering our own path. And it's going to be fun. It'll still hurt a little because that's what life does a lot. Sometimes, occasionally, whenever we need it, fill in the blank, but we're going to work with it. Till then, see you on the trail.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Dear Grandchildren, A Tracker's Tale. If today's journey resonates with you, I invite you to share it with others who long for a deeper connection to nature and themselves. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts for bonus episodes, exclusive question and answer sessions, and more tales from the wild. Your support through subscriptions, feedback, or simply spreading word keeps this flame of ancestral wisdom alive. And if you're ready to take the next step, contact the Central School at primitiveskills.com or email staff@primitiveskills.com to learn all about our workshops, experiences, lectures, expeditions, and how we can bring these teachings directly to you. Until next time, may your trails be clear and your heart full. Keep exploring and keep the fire burning.